U.S. authorities and potentially U.S. court are not convinced that the Mexicans have a very strong case, that it's very unlikely that she would be extradited.
Information in the Shanquella Robinson case as the FBI releases some of its files after a news media FOIA request. Robinson left her home in Charlotte to take a trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico with 5 friends in October 2022. She died on the trip. The FBI records reveal that on November 9th, a man showed up here to the FBI Charlotte field office to provide information about what he believed was Robinson's murder. Her friends have said Robinson died from alcohol poisoning after a night of heavy drinking, but the medical examiner in Cabo says she died from a broken neck.
Looks like the feds are finally making some noise in the Shanquella Robinson case, nearly 3 years after her tragic death. Explosive new documents just dropped, and they're pointing fingers straight at the so-called Cabo Six. These were the same friends who went on that 2022 Cabo trip with Shanquella and allegedly left her behind in a body bag. From the jump, this case was wild. Viral outrage blew up online when the first horrifying details surfaced. But then, crickets. Things stalled for years, leaving everyone wondering if justice would ever come.
Out there, she was in the game room. They told me she was not feeling good, so I instantly go to her, put on her side, get a bag, and all that. So I'm sitting right next to her the whole time. I was not there till the next day. I didn't see a fight. I didn't know it was a fight. I didn't know it was a video. I didn't know they did any harm, anything. I went in there and told it was alcohol poisoning, so that's what I helped her. That's what I helped her at. I didn't leave her side. I cut on soft music. Summer Walker rubbing her head till the nurse came in. It's wrong. And for y'all to be attacking me, an innocent soul, like, I'm really innocent as fuck. I went there to enjoy my birthday. Like, to enjoy my birthday and to really just goddamn have fun. I didn't have not 1 second of fun. And take one shot and smoke one blunt and didn't do anything.
Some folks even thought this would become another cold case, until now. The Cabo Six, they've been swearing up and down they had nothing to do with it. They said they were innocent, didn't touch her, and basically acted like they were just innocent bystanders. But guess what? That whole story might have been a complete lie, because according to these new federal findings and bombshell eyewitness statements, it's looking like the crew allegedly did unalive Shanquella. And here's the kicker. Rumors are swirling that this wasn't some heat-of-the-moment accident. No, people are asking, was this whole thing premeditated before they even boarded the plane to Mexico? Like, did they really plan this from the start? We're talking about a case that's dragged on forever, with more questions than answers, but now, things are heating up fast. The documents say enough to shake the whole internet again, and if this evidence holds up, these so-called friends are in serious trouble.
When they got back from the trip with her luggage, what did they tell you happened to your daughter?
That she got sick from drinking. It was alcohol.
Right after Shanquella's death, the internet exploded with outrage. Everyone was demanding justice, marching online and offline, ready to see the truth come out. But as time passed, that fire started to fade. Weeks turned into months, months into years, and suddenly, silence. It was like the whole case got swept under the rug. The feds went quiet and folks started thinking they'd just forgotten all about her. Until now.
Keep it hot, what? They, what Go said, they crew.
The one that's like mediocre is my champion.
Out of nowhere, there's a major update, and it's giving real hope that justice for Shanquella might finally be on the horizon. Turns out the pressure didn't stop behind the scenes. For over a year, journalists and activists kept banging on the door. Since 2023, people have been filing Freedom of Information Act requests nonstop, demanding anything the feds could legally reveal without wrecking the case. And now, boom, the feds finally cracked. Just days ago, they dropped 2 separate parts of official documents tied to the Shanquella Robinson investigation. And even though they were heavily redacted, what slipped through is jaw-dropping. Here's what went down. About a month after her death, the FBI interviewed someone, name blacked out, who spilled some chilling info. This person said Shanquella's so-called friends claimed she had been drinking and hit her head on the toilet. Really? That weak excuse again? But hold up, it gets worse. That same person said they saw photos of Shanquella's body. And according to them, she didn't just fall. She had bruises all over and looked like she had been stomped on. That doesn't sound like an accident at all. Oh, and they also believe there were cameras in the vacation house. Cameras in the house. If that's true, there could be footage out there that shows what really happened. So get this.
So when they got back from the trip with her luggage, what did they tell you happened to your daughter?
That she got sick from drinking. It was alcohol.
Despite talk about possible cameras in the house, reports from back then say not a single camera was found in the room where Shanquella died. Not one. That's got people wondering, did the Cabo Six know about the cameras and intentionally take them down? Were they trying to wipe out the evidence and cover their tracks before anyone could connect the dots? Allegedly, that's exactly what folks are suspecting. But wait, there's more. The FBI didn't just rely on witness talk, they went through Shanquella's phone too. What they found, totally blacked out in the files, redacted from top to bottom. Whatever was in there must have been serious. And according to the files back in November 2022, Mexican authorities told the FBI they needed to speak with one specific person from the trip in order to get a temporary detention order. Things were moving toward justice, but then, nothing.
It's my friends to me, because, y'all, it don't take that long to get naked. It don't take that long to get naked, hoes. Where y'all at? She told me I'm gonna keep it hot. You gonna keep it hot? What? They, what Go said, they croup.
The one that's like mediocre is my champion.
Eventually, Mexico issued an official arrest warrant, but here's the twist. No one was ever extradited. Not a single member of the Cabo Six was sent back to face charges. It's like the whole thing just froze midair. Now sure, the FBI documents are still super redacted, but word on the street from someone close to the case says those blacked out sections, they allegedly point directly at the Cabo Six, hinting that there's strong evidence they were involved in what happened to Shanquella. So why are these docs suddenly being released now after so long? Turns out we've got Shanquella's family to thank. They never stopped pushing. They've been fighting like warriors, doing everything to make sure her story doesn't fade. And recently, they filed yet another civil lawsuit, this time against the feds themselves. That legal heat must have worked because now the feds are finally making moves to keep the family from turning up the pressure even more. Shanquella Robinson, a 25-year-old from Charlotte, North Carolina, was just looking to vibe and relax. On October 28, 2022, she packed her bags for what should have been a fun, carefree trip to Cabo, Mexico. The reason? A birthday getaway, or at least that's what her so-called friends told everybody. She left home in perfect health, glowing with excitement, just like anyone heading out for a vacation. But what Shanquella didn't know was that she would never return home. This wasn't a solo trip. She was surrounded by 6 people who were supposed to be her ride or dies, friends, people she trusted. Their names? Malik Dyer, Winter Donovan, Elise Hyatt, Dejanay Jackson, her so-called best friend Khalil Cook, and Nazir Wiggins. On the surface, it looked like a typical luxury escape. A young group heading to Mexico to celebrate, kick back, and live it up. But behind that vacation filter was something much darker brewing. Now here's where it gets interesting. Nazir Wiggins didn't even arrive with the rest of them. He flew in a whole day late, and ever since he's been firm about one thing. He claims he didn't know anything about what went down before he got there. According to him, by the time he touched down in Cabo, things were already spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew, either staying silent or giving stories that don't line up. Their timelines, shaky. Their explanations, confusing at best. And Nazir, he's out here saying he walked into a storm that had already hit. From the outside, this looked like just another birthday trip, a group of young adults chasing sunshine, beach days, and good vibes. But once the real story started slipping out, it was clear. This was no ordinary vacation. What happened in that Cabo villa was something else entirely. Shanquella Robinson walked into that house thinking she was surrounded by friends, people she trusted with her life. But not everyone in that room had good intentions, and that became painfully obvious fast. The morning after they touched down in Cabo, everything took a dark, unexpected turn. On the surface, it looked like just another day on a trip. But behind the scenes, something sinister was already unfolding. The first person to reach out to Shanquella's family was none other than her so-called best friend, Khalil Cook. He called her mother, sounding calm, and said Shanquella wasn't feeling too well. Claimed it was alcohol poisoning. Just that. He made it seem harmless, like she just drank too much and was probably hungover. Nothing unusual on a trip like that, right? Her mom didn't panic. I mean, they were in Mexico having fun, and Khalil had been around the family for years. He wasn't just some guy. He was considered trustworthy, so naturally she believed him. But then things started getting real. Khalil called again, and this time the tone had changed. It wasn't just a hangover anymore. He told her that medics had rushed to the villa in ambulances and were doing everything they could to bring Shanquella back. CPR, emergency treatment, it was serious. Way more serious than what he first made it sound like. What started off sounding like a harmless health scare turned into a full-blown nightmare. Despite everything the medics tried, they couldn't bring Shanquella back. She was officially pronounced dead on October 29th by 3 p.m. That alone was heartbreaking, but what made the tragedy even worse was how none of the details surrounding her death made sense. At first, her family was told it was alcohol poisoning, a freak accident, but as time went on, that story began to crumble. Fast. The more they learned, the darker it got. And when you look closely at the official death certificate, everything the so-called friends said starts to fall apart. Yes, the certificate confirms Shanquella was found unconscious. But here's the thing, there's zero mention of alcohol, not even a little. And remember, Khalil was out here telling her mom that doctors said it was alcohol poisoning. But the paperwork says otherwise. If alcohol had played any role, it would have been listed. Instead, it was completely missing. So what did the death certificate say? Brace yourself. The official cause of death was listed as severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation, which basically means her neck was dislocated at the spot where the skull connects to the spine. That's not something that just happens by accident, and it definitely doesn't come from drinking too much. We're talking about a type of injury so violent, so specific, that it raises even more questions. How did she go from partying with friends one minute to having a broken neck the next? The science doesn't lie, and neither does that death certificate. This new revelation completely blew Khalil's story to pieces. Everything he told Shanquella's mother, straight up false. With this information out in the open, it was clear her so-called friends weren't just twisting the truth. They were straight up lying. And what really happened in that villa was way more disturbing than anyone imagined. The more people dug into the case, the darker it got. Now, for those unfamiliar with the term atlas luxation, here's what it means. It's when the top bones in your spine, right where the skull connects to the neck, get violently dislocated. That's not something that just happens. It's either inherited or the result of serious trauma. And Shanquella? She had never been diagnosed with any condition like that, which means the only explanation left is physical violence. She was injured, badly, but it didn't stop at just the neck injury. The spinal cord trauma and atlas dislocation were already severe, but her body had more signs of being attacked. Visible ones, the kind you can't ignore. There was a knot on her head, her lip was split, one of her eyes swollen shut and bruised. These injuries weren't caused by some stumble or fainting spell, no way. These were the kind of marks left behind by someone putting hands on her. And guess what? None of that was ever mentioned by her friends. Not a single word about the head injury, the busted lip, or the bruises. They kept it quiet, hoping no one would notice. But the autopsy didn't lie. And then came a specific detail from that report, something so heavy it shattered hearts all over again. The autopsy revealed something absolutely gut-wrenching. Shanquella passed away just 15 minutes after her injuries were inflicted. Now, on paper, 15 minutes might not sound like much. But when someone's in pain, scared, and alone, every single second stretches into forever. The idea that she spent her last moments in agony, possibly confused, betrayed, and surrounded by people she once called friends, is beyond heartbreaking. And this is where the story starts to spiral out of control for the people trying to hide the truth. Not long after word of her death hit the internet, a chilling video surfaced, and when it dropped, it destroyed any lies the Cabo Six were holding on to. The footage shows Shanquella being viciously attacked by none other than Dejane Jackson, one of the very people she traveled with. And calling it a fight wouldn't even be accurate. A fight means two people are throwing hands. That's not what this was. Shanquella wasn't fighting back. She wasn't swinging. She wasn't defending herself. She was being beaten down while completely defenseless. And the worst part, the rest of the so-called friends, they just stood there, watched it all unfold. Not a single one tried to help her. Not one stepped in. They didn't try to stop the attack, and they recorded it like it was some kind of twisted show. And Khalil, the same guy who called her mother, pretending to care, was standing right there. You can hear his voice in the background. And what did he say? "Quella, can you at least fight back?" That's what he said, like it was a joke, like she wasn't in danger, like her pain didn't matter. As if Shanquella ever stood a chance against that kind of beating. The video changed everything. It tore down the lies, exposed the truth, and showed the world exactly what happened. Shanquella didn't die from alcohol poisoning. She wasn't just sick. She was brutally attacked, and the people who were supposed to be her friends didn't just stand by, they helped cover it up. Now, I'm not showing that video ever. First of all, Shanquella wasn't clothed, and second, it was absolutely horrifying to watch. But what I can say is this, she was hurt bad, real bad. And the part that stings the most, not one of those friends stepped in to stop it. Nobody said a word. Nobody pushed Dejanay off of her. Nobody told her to stop. They stood there, watching, filming, like it was entertainment, like Shanquella wasn't a real person, wasn't their friend, just standing there cold, detached, like they weren't witnessing someone getting destroyed in front of their eyes. But here's the part that takes the horror even further. Reports now claim that Dejanay wasn't the only one involved. Sources say Winter Donovan also joined in, which means this might not have been just a one-on-one attack. It could have been a group ambush. It's now being alleged that Winter grabbed Shanquella by the neck and slammed her into a wall. Let that sink in. When you look back at the autopsy, the broken neck, the spinal cord damage, it starts adding up. That kind of trauma doesn't come from one hit. It sounds like Winter's move might have been the one that finished it. Allegedly, Dejanay beat her first, and then Winter came in with the final blow. Reports claim it was only after Winter slammed her that Shanquella stopped moving altogether. Things got even darker when another video started blowing up across social media. It showed Shanquella's so-called friends all huddled together behind her back at the resort. And from the body language, the energy, everything, it looked like they were plotting something. The vibe was off, like she was being set up. Then came a disturbing detail from someone who saw it all firsthand, the resort concierge. He confirmed what many already suspected. Shanquella was being treated like an outsider. He said she didn't seem to fit in with the group at all. And when he first introduced himself to everyone, Shanquella didn't smile or even greet him. Not because she was rude, but because she looked distant, like she felt out of place, disconnected from whatever fake celebration was happening. She was out of place at that party, he said, and what he witnessed after her death made everything even more chilling. The concierge said once she was pronounced dead, he respectfully gave them space to grieve. He stepped outside the main area so they could mourn. But what happened next? Minutes later, he heard laughter, actual laughing, while her lifeless body was still inside. That same group who was laughing, they're the ones who called her mother and lied, told her she got sick from drinking, said it was just alcohol poisoning. They repeated it over and over, like rehearsed lines in a bad play. But none of it was true. Mexican authorities, however, didn't buy the story. They took the case very seriously and labeled it what it truly looked like: femicide. That's the term used when a woman is killed because she's a woman, and it comes with major legal weight in Mexico. They also issued an official statement saying the case was fully clarified and confirmed that an arrest warrant had been filed for the crime of femicide. The warrant was aimed at a specific friend of Shanquella's, someone they identified as the direct aggressor. This wasn't a fight, it was a targeted attack. We are carrying out all the pertinent procedures, such as the Interpol alert and the request for extradition to the United States of America. That's what Mexican officials said as they pushed to bring justice across borders. Both the victim and the alleged killer were American citizens, and Mexico was doing everything by the book. But on the US side, things started moving real slow. So slow, in fact, that Shanquella's family had to take matters into their own hands. Tired of the silence and delays, they released a powerful open letter calling out the suspect by name, something Mexican authorities had already confirmed. The letter brought up the viral video, the one that shocked the internet. It clearly showed Shanquella being brutally beaten inside the villa while unclothed by one of the people she had traveled with. The witness identified that person as Dejanay Jackson, and according to the family's statement, Mexican investigators didn't hesitate. An official arrest warrant was issued for Jackson after the case was classified as femicide. Dejanay, like the rest of the Cabo Six, had fled back to the US after Shanquella was declared dead. But she wasn't just a random traveler. She had been singled out as the perpetrator in a gender-based homicide, a femicide that left the world shaken. And here's the legal reality: if a US citizen commits homicide on foreign soil, they can still face serious criminal charges once they return to America. Whether under federal or state law depends on the case, but the law can catch up. So why was there a delay? Why wasn't there movement when the world had already seen the evidence? That's what the family wanted to know. And that letter, it wasn't just a plea, it was a warning. Do your job or we'll keep making noise until you do. The feds kept dragging their feet for years. No arrests, no accountability, just delay after delay. But Shanquella's family had finally had enough. They weren't sitting quiet anymore. So what did they do? They hit everyone with a civil lawsuit. And when I say everyone, I mean everybody. They filed against the Cabo Six, the United States Department of State, and the FBI. No one was off limits. Shanquella's mother didn't hold back when speaking on the lawsuit. Her words were powerful. "We need justice for Shanquella Robinson. It's been 2 years and there's no reason nobody's been arrested yet." The lack of justice serves as a painful reminder of the danger people, especially young black women, face when they travel to unfamiliar places with unfamiliar faces. It's our responsibility to make sure these tragedies don't go unanswered. And guess what? Right after that lawsuit hit, the energy shifted. Suddenly, the FBI started moving fast. Like they had something to prove. They dropped those heavily redacted files that folks had been asking for since forever, almost 2 years since the news stations first requested them. So now the big question is, was that just smoke and mirrors to quiet the storm? Or are we finally about to see some real justice for Shanquella? What do you think? Will the feds actually step up and make arrests? Or is this just more delay tactics to avoid the heat? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown powerful, make sure to like, subscribe, share this video, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next drop. We'll be diving even deeper next time. See you in the next one.